Okay, guys. Recently I was at the military surplus store, and I picked up this little guy, and it's just a real small pouch, um, maybe 3 inches by 4 inches, maybe 2 inches deep, and it's easily denote. You can easily see that it's a first aid kit. And I put a big old long lanyard on it that I made on the zipper pull, to make it even easier to see. But the reason I picked this up, I've got other first aid kits. I got lots of first aid kits. But the problem is I tend to pack too much stuff into them, and I tend not to carry them because they get too big and too cumbersome. I've got a couple. I've got a Maxpedition FR1 pouch that I made into a first aid kit. Uh, but it's way too big. I might take that on a canoe trip, or if I'm out with lots of people, something like that. But for a solo, overnighter or day hike or whatever, it's too big. So I started putting together my own kit to compensate for what I see as the most common injuries, at least for me, in the woods. And those entail cuts, burns, sprains, and minor injuries like that. So mostly cuts and burns, though. So I put this kit together. Up here you'll see a couple glacier gels. These are work on blisters or burns, so that takes care of my blisters and my burns. So I don't have to pack extra moleskin in here, although I might do that just because moleskin is the bomb when it comes to blisters. You can see this very small pair of scissors here. I'm looking for a smaller pair of scissors. I like all steel scissors. I like those. The kind I'm looking for are about maybe a little bit smaller than this, but when they fold up, the blades go inside, the handle, and they're just one really tiny package. But this is the smallest I've got right now. Until I find something better, that's what I got. So I've got my burns and my blisters taken care of. When I get cut, I tend to get cut one of two ways, obviously. One is a very light, almost non-existent cut, like a scratch. It may bleed a little bit, but it's nothing that I don't even stop to even think about. I just continue on doing what I'm doing. And those kind of things, I generally don't really do a lot with them. I might wipe the blood off, but that's about it. And then there's the kind where you almost need stitches. If not, you do need stitches. Now, there's been a few times where I've needed stitches and I didn't go get them. One being, I don't know how well you're going to be able to see it, but on my thumb here, right there's a scar. And I was holding a piece of wood and chopping with an axe. This before I learned how to use an axe properly. And I was trying to yank my hand away at the last second. Well, I didn't get away quite quick enough and chopped clear down to the bone. Now, if I hadn't tried to move my hand at all, I probably would have cut the thing off, because just the very corner of the hatchet caught it. And I really should have had stitches on that one, but I didn't. And I had to go through some kind of light therapy because they thought I did some nerve damage. Also on this first knuckle, I cut that one pretty bad. It's actually still got a lump there. I guess it's scar tissue, but that one I should have had stitches. I also got one on the back of my pinky where I sliced it open pretty good. Point being, you get deep cuts. I do anyway. So I pack and some people pack these things here, steri strips, but what they don't realize is these things don't work unless you have the glue to go along with them. You have to have glue, and it's not an ordinary glue. You have to have I forget what they call it. If I can think of it, I'll annotate it. But I asked USNER doc about it, and I got some of these at one of my hospital trips for a bad wound, and they gave me a couple extra for my first aid kit. But they're awesome. They're awesome kit. I mean, if you go to the ER, this is what they use for a bad cut or stitches. Problem being, like I said, you have to have the glue to go with them. So the next best thing in my mind are these little they call butterfly closures. You can see what they look like there. And they come 2 of these little sheets of pack. So there's 6 in a pack, or 6 in a sheet like this. So there's 12 of these all together. And basically what you do is you stick one side on, you pull the cut closed, and you stick the other side down, and you do that all the way across the cut. I've seen some guys do basically the same thing, but they'll use medical tape or duct tape or whatever kind of thing they have on them. Then I don't like to use band-aids a lot. They're pricey, and they're, you know, you basically get one type of band-aid. You got, you know, I do have some in here for real small cuts, but you get one type of band-aid. So I don't like to carry band-aids. I carry these non-stick, keyword non-stick pads, and they're basically a pad. I cut them in half because I generally don't need one this big, but that's how big they are when they come to you. And I cut them in half, and basically that's why I got these scissors, is because I will cut this pad to the size of the wound, to whatever I need it. And you know, a lot of guys will pack gauze. From experience, let me tell you, don't put gauze on a bloody wound. The gauze are good for their own task, but you know, for putting on a wound as a dressing, I don't like doing that, because for one, when you go to take the gauze off, you know, after a while, the blood will have dried, and when you go to pull that gauze off, it rips the wound back open. So I don't use gauze. You know, on my bigger first aid kits, I do have gauze, but I use it to clean the blood up, not to actually use as a bandage. So I cut these guys, these non-stick pads. You can get them like you can see here, CVS, Walgreens, any of them places, and you can cut it to any size you need. And that's what I like about them. I don't have to carry 40 different band-aids of all different shapes and sizes. I carry a couple of these little pads. I think there's 4 of them here, and I can dress just about any kind of basic wound with that. Along with that, the scissors and the tape to tape it on with. Just a little bit of medical tape over a piece of business card. I don't need much more than that. Right now I've got some Bear in here. I use the usually I keep the little vial that you get at the checkout stand of Advil. That's my preferred headache pill. But I keep the Bear in there in case anybody I'm with or myself starts to get a heart attack or whatever, or the signs. You pop a couple Bear and they say it, you know, gets rid of the symptoms. Then I used to pack all my first aid kit in these ID badge pouches, but I don't anymore because it takes up too much room. I put a couple the latex-free nitrile gloves in here in case I have to work on somebody else, or in case somebody has to work on me. I use nitrile because, you know, anybody with a latex allergy is not affected by these. That's why I use these. So, you know, just in case somebody has to work on me or I have to work on somebody else. I have a couple cotton swabs just because, you know, it's part of my first aid kit. You know, if I'm in the field for a couple days, I want to clean my ears out. There you go. They don't take up any room and they're no big deal. Like I said, I showed before a couple Band-Aids. I think there's 3 or 4 here. Those are for really minor cuts, but generally I go straight to these guys, these non-stick guys. 3 or 4 alcohol pads, alcohol swabs, and these contain a lot of alcohol. And I recently cut my knee open pretty good. Actually should have had stitches on that one. I'll try to roll in a picture if I can. And what I do when I get cut like that is I'll take this, and I don't know if any guys have tattoos, but you'll know when you go to get a tattoo, they tell you no drinking before you get a tattoo, no alcohol, and that's because it thins your blood. And one of the things I do, I don't rush to put a bandage on. I'll take this thing and I'll squeeze the alcohol right into the wound. I know it burns a little bit, but what that does is it makes your blood flow better out of the cut, and the blood, between the blood and the alcohol, that cut gets cleaned really good, because, you know, the blood will help flush the wound, and the alcohol kills anything that's in there. So that's what I do. And then I put some Neosporin on it to help it keep clean and heal. And then I put a bandage on it. I keep a small pair of, I don't know what these are. They came out of another first aid kit, but they're little, real tiny tweezers. And they are good for pulling splinters, ticks, whatever. And also I have a triangular bandage. I don't think I'll ever need this, but I threw it in here just because I might replace this with a small bandage of gauze or ace bandage, because sprains are more likely than a break or something like this. So this will probably get chucked. But that is my basic first aid kit. I do, like I said, usually carry a small vial of Advil, because, you know, and I carry a lot more stuff in my bigger first aid kit. But this is basically my first aid kit, and I think it's very important to carry a first aid kit because I've been cut way too many times not to. And like I said, this all fits in this little tiny pouch. This takes up no room in my pack, and I've always got a way to treat my wounds. I do not want to be caught out without a first aid kit, but yet I don't want to carry one so big that you don't end up leaving it at home. So anyway, guys, if you have any comments or questions or anything like that, please feel free to, you know, leave a comment or PM me or whatever. And as always, guys, thank you for watching.